Imagine a drug that's highly addictive, completely free, and you can't overdose on it. And like the crazy part about it is it doesn't feel dangerous. It more so feels like, you're chilling, scrolling. When you think about it deeper, you're not just being entertained. You're getting constant dopamine spikes and these like emotional highs and lows that you go through. And you're getting all of this and you didn't have to do anything for it. You literally just open your phone and decided to scroll, and all of this is happening under the surface. And just because you can't overdose on it doesn't mean that there aren't any side effects to it. And if you're thinking like, oh, it's not that bad, I can stop whenever I want, usually it's probably affecting you more than you even realize it. And if you're on this video, it probably is. And so let's get into the side effects of social media. Agitation, feeling impatient, your attention being all over the place. It's fragmented at this point. Low drive to do things in your actual life. Procrastination. Your brain just consumed hours of videos, whether it was 50, 100, more. You've been scrolling for 2, 3, 4 hours, maybe even more. Your brain has to process all of those videos. It's not like it just goes nowhere and you can just go ahead and jump into the next thing that you wanted to do or whatever. Like if you sat and scrolled for hours, your brain still has to process all of those videos. It's like you're running on low RAM after you scroll. Your brain is just not at peak performance. I think it's because it's processing and kind of like digesting, if you will, all of those videos that you just consumed in the background. You get fatigue, and I think it's mental fatigue more so because, again, you just watch hours and hours of videos, and then your brain is processing those videos in the background. And then I also think that that plays into like lowered executive functioning. But for me, I have ADHD, so I notice like my executive functioning after I've scrolled for a little bit. Yeah, no, I'll be telling myself I'm gonna get stuff done, or I'm gonna like sit down and finish writing a paper or whatever the case is, and I'm not. I could be typing like, okay, I got done five pages, 10 pages, whatever the case is, and then I'm like, okay, in the middle of this, I'm going to scroll. If I get done with 2 or 3 more pages, or if I finish this assignment and turn it in, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get on TikTok. I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes and I'm get on TikTok. Or like I know that I have a lot of reading to do for class or something like that, and I'll, let's say decide for whatever reason I was gonna get on TikTok beforehand, or tell myself I'm only gonna scroll on here for a few minutes, and now it's been hours and I'm like, oh shit, I got other stuff to do. Let me go do that. I'll be reading like the same paragraph over and over again, and like it's like I'm not understanding. It's like my executive function or cognitive functioning, it just feels muddied or like cloudy or fuzzy. It's like I know I get the information, I know I can retain the information, but my brain is not online to cooperate. Or like the craving, like I guess how someone would crave a cigarette and be like, oh, I need to go take a smoke break. That's how I felt about TikTok. Like, oh, let me go get back on social media after I finish this. And I think that like another thing that makes this more dangerous is because it's socially acceptable. Like you can say, oh, you shouldn't vape, or oh, you shouldn't do drugs, or oh, you shouldn't drink. And everybody can be like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how that's bad. But I feel like social media is different. It's one of those things where it's like socially acceptable because everybody does it. And I don't think people see it like a drug. It's like a perfectly engineered drug all ages can kind of consume, which is, it's actually kind of wild when you really think about it. But because it's so socially acceptable, I feel like that makes it easier to kind of like generalize it, like, oh, everybody has a problem with social media, so I'm not the only one. So, my screen time isn't that bad. Friend, your screen time is probably in the double digits weekly, daily even. Let's sit with that. I feel like also social media makes real life like less appealing. Like you shouldn't have to negotiate with yourself to do basic tasks in your own life. I guess add to that, I feel like social media also like makes real life boring. And not because real life is actually boring, but because you are engaged in a hyper simulated version of reality for hours and hours on end, like damn near like a VR headset all day. Because social media is not real. It is a hyper simulated version of reality. So when you're used to having this like hyper reality, you know what I'm saying, that you're like kind of living inside or peering into for hours and hours at a time, when you come back to your real life, it's not gonna feel as good because that is like engineered and geared to like spike dopamine and make you feel good and all of that, right? But in real life, you don't feel that all the time. If I had to compare it to something, I would say it's kind of like a bowl of cereal. You have your cereal, right? Cereal is already kind of sugary. You eat it. That's regular life. Social media kind of puts that, like, you took a 5-pound bag of sugar and just dumped it in a bowl, and now you're eating that. So of course, going back to the regular bowl of cereal that is already sweetened and everything, it doesn't taste as good. It doesn't feel as satisfying. It's not as, it doesn't seem as good in comparison, and you don't get the same amount of gratification that you would get from it. So here's the loop, right? You scroll, you feel something, you stay longer. Then the longer you stay, the more you want to say. If your real life is not as entertaining or as fun or as eventful as social media, then of course you're going to want to stay in that hyper-simulated reality longer than your actual life. And that, in my opinion, makes it worse, because it's like you're getting away from yourself further and further, right? Because you're spending more and more time in this false reality that feels better than your real life. So you're not changing anything in your real life. You're not really making progress in your real life. And honestly, it feels kind of shitty to start making progress in your real life, because on social media, again, it's fake. Everything is sped up. Everything is engineered to look perfect, feel great, all of these things. And in your real life, it's not like that. And your brain has been addicted to like the overconsumption and the dopamine spikes. So in real life, when you do things where you would get slow dopamine from like studying or passing a test or getting your degree or graduating or you know, redoing your resume or going after a job or something like that, all of these things that would produce like dopamine in like a natural way, or even exercise, you don't want that. Your brain does not want that. It wants the candy, it wants the social media, because you've already reinforced that loop and that habit. So when you do things in your real life, when you come from like that overconsumption of social media, doing shit in real life is kind of ass. It does not feel good. It does not feel as rewarding, because again, you have trained your brain to get dopamine from doing nothing. So your brain is thinking like, why the fuck would I go do shit in my real life when I can just scroll and feel good? So your brain wants to continue to travel that path of like least resistance and scroll and continue to feel good. And in the beginning, I said that social media was free. That's technically true, because it's not any like monetary value that you're paying for it or anything like that, but you are paying with your time, your attention, your energy, and your focus. I really think that's worse. You can't get your time back. If you look up and at the end of the year, you've just mostly spent time, you know, putting up prime Jordan numbers on, you know, your screen time, I think it might be time to just, you know, see maybe why that is, and kind of work to dial it back and make your real life as fulfilling as it is, you know, when you go online. And that time, energy, attention, and focus could really be best used and best utilized, making your own life a life that you don't want to escape from. I think that it sounds good, and it is good. But I feel like it would be better if we just focused on creating a life outside of like social media that we actually enjoy, that we're actually excited about. So no, it's not just scrolling. It's something that is slowly changing how you think and how you feel and how you show up in your real life. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use social media, but if you've been feeling unmotivated, disconnected, or just off lately, this might be part of the reason why. And that's it. I will see y'all in the next one, my baby. Bye.